Hey everybody, this is David, and today I'm going to be telling you about a movie that I just saw, Exodus: Gods and Kings, directed by Ridley Scott and starring Christian Bale as Moses. So, what did I think of this movie? First, let's get to the cast, some of the cast anyways, and the most important part of this casting is Moses himself, Christian Bale, who a lot of you might remember as Batman in Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. So what did I think of Mr. Bale? To tell you the truth, this is honest truth, I swear to God. Right. Back in 2008, I remember thinking to myself, because I always wanted to see a new telling of the story of Moses. I think back then, I went back and watched The Prince of Egypt, and it literally is one of my all-time favorite animated films of all time. It's definitely in my top 25. And at that time, I was really getting obsessed with that movie for a little bit, because I thought the story in that film about the two brothers was really good. And I remember, because, you know, Christian Bale is one of my favorite actors thanks to the Dark Knight trilogy. I discovered him because of Batman Begins and went back and watched all his films, so I thought he was a terrific actor. So during The Dark Knight that year, I remember thinking to myself, you know what, I think Christian Bale would be a really good Moses. And thankfully, someone in Hollywood shared the same opinion as me, because now this is the first time a casting that I wanted to see actually happened, and I'm glad it did, because I think Christian Bale knocked it out of the park. I think he was a really good Moses, and the problems with this movie has nothing to do with him. As a matter of fact, I don't think the problems are that big. I'll get into those later, but yeah, Christian Bale definitely wasn't a problem. If anything, he was probably one of the better things about the movie. The number 2 casting role, Ramses, played by Joel Edgerton, who a lot of people might remember from Warrior or The Great Gatsby. Nerds like myself will remember him as Uncle Owen from the Star Wars prequels. Of course, to me, I thought he was really good, but I can see why a lot of people would think he's a miscast. And there's going to be a lot of probably miscasts for a lot of people in this movie, because, you know, I know one of the big complaints a lot of people were saying about this movie, even before it came out, was that they should have casted real Egyptians for the Egyptian characters. And for the most part, I agree, but I felt Joel Edgerton, I felt he played the role really well. I let him pass, personally. I thought he did a really good job, and he had that commanding presence. I just felt the character was a little bit whiny at times. Not just whiny, I felt he was also a little bit spoiled. And I felt that, like, I felt he gave up too easily on Moses, like, when he found out. You can see he was kind of struggling with it, but I felt like it was too easy the way he just all of a sudden turned on Moses. I felt if he was really your brother, or if you felt that he was like a brother to you, and you found out this information, I don't feel that he would just instantly believe this other guy, that Moses was a Hebrew. Even if he was, I felt the struggle that he was dealing with when he learned about it was too quick and too fast and too easy. But that's just me. Other than that, you know, I think acting-wise, I think he did a really good job. And I thought he was good. The two castings that really took me out of the movie, though, it's not that they were bad actors. It was just that, to me, they did not feel like Egyptians. Was Sigourney Weaver and John Turturro as the Pharaoh. And I just felt, to me, when they appeared on screen and they started saying their dialogue, I knew who those actors were, and I knew they weren't Egyptian. So I definitely, those two to me are the big miscasts right there. Joel Edgerton, I can let him pass, but Sigourney Weaver and John Turturro, I couldn't let it go, and it just it didn't ruin it for me, the movie, completely, but it did take me out a little bit while watching it, and I can see why a lot of people talk about the miscasts in this film. Getting on to the story, there's a lot of things about the story of Moses, and I felt that the Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston and the animated DreamWorks film, The Prince of Egypt, I felt those two films handled the story of Moses much better. One thing, the movie doesn't start with Moses as a baby, and I was kind of hoping to see that side of the story again, a retelling of that part too. They start the movie off with Christian Bale already as adult Moses, and they later tell us how he was a baby and sent through the river, and they give us that story later. They don't show us it, and I was really hoping they would kind of show us that to like give us a better picture of it, because for someone who is not familiar with the story of Moses, I think it would have been nice. I am familiar with the story of Moses, but just in case there's like other people out there that don't, I feel that they should have included that. I really enjoyed the plagues of this film. I wasn't sure how they were going to handle the plagues, and the movie does take sort of a realistic-ish approach to it, but not too much, because when God, the way they introduce God in this film, they introduce him as a child. There is a burning bush when Moses first does talk to God, but there's also a child who represents God in the film, and I thought that was fine. I thought that was cool, and for a while I thought when Moses and some of the Hebrews made their first attack on the Egyptians, I thought, okay, maybe they're gonna do this throughout the entire film by causing things to happen and make it look like the plagues, but then God says, look, the way you're doing it, it's gonna take forever. Let me handle this from here, and you just stand by and watch. And I actually like that, because it's and the way they explain the plagues in the movie, you can take it that way, a more realistic way, like what the priestess or the priest was telling the Pharaoh, Ramses, or you can take it that it was the power of God. I think there's two ways you could really look at this movie that I think even if you're an atheist, you can probably enjoy this movie. I mean, I think the story of Moses is really a great story overall. So whether you don't believe or whatever your beliefs are, I think it's just a really good story to enjoy. One thing that I also really hoped that they would have played more with was the brother angle. I felt, like I said earlier when I was talking about Ramses, I felt that they made Ramses switch a little bit too quick, and Moses, they focus on him a little bit more, and his struggle with going after the Egyptians, because you can tell he didn't really want to, and he even says that at first, and God even points it out to him. Look, you like these people. It seems like you like these people more than your own real people, the ones you're supposed to be saving, because you feel bad for them for what they did to your actual people. And you see that struggle that Moses has, that he doesn't really want to do this, but he has it. But they don't play with it enough that you don't really feel that they were really brothers, that they lived together for so long and had each other's backs for as long as they did. I never got that sense from it that well anyways, and that was one missed opportunity that I felt the movie lacked. Another thing that I was really hoping to see was the parting of the Red Sea. In the original film, the Charlton Heston film, and even The Prince of Egypt, whenever that big moment at the end comes, they had the sea part ways, And that was something I really wanted to see. I thought that we were going to see that in that epic, true fashion, the spectacle of it all. And unfortunately, we didn't get that. We got a more realistic, once again, a more realistic way of doing it. And this was probably the one thing that I was disappointed by the most. Because I mean, it was fine. I didn't mind it again also. I thought, okay, realistically, it makes more sense. But why couldn't we just get that spectacle? I mean, this is a movie, right? So give us that. And I mean, people accepted it back with the Charlton Heston film, and people accepted it with the animated film. Why can't, modern day audiences still accept that? Because the story is so grand anyways, and already you guys just did the plagues all with the kind of a spectacle to it. So why not play it up still with the sea parting, and seeing them go through. I don't know. I that was something I really wanted to see, because with modern day technology, that would have looked amazing. But we didn't get that, so I'm not gonna linger on it too much. It's more of a nitpick, but the way they did it was fine. I felt it was okay. So wrapping this up, guys, I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. It was enjoyable. Just some things I felt they could have did better. Acting wise, despite some of the miscasts, I thought all the actors did a really good job. No actor did an awful job. Everyone was really good in their roles. Christian Bale was awesome as usual. Same thing with Joel Edgerton. I felt they all knocked it out of the park. And, the special effects are awesome in this movie. Even though they didn't take advantage of the sea departing. Oh well. But other than that, guys, yeah, this is a good movie. If you're not a religious person, I don't think you have to worry about it. They tried to make it as grounded and realistic as possible as the story can let them. And they do a good job of that, of juggling the fantasy aspect and the grounded aspect, and I think they pulled it off. And if you are a religious person, I think you still enjoy that. I'm a religious person, so even though I'm not perfect at it, but yeah, it's a good movie for all. I think everybody, it's much better than Noah, which I thought was boring, okay? It had nothing to do with how it departed from the Bible. To me, that doesn't matter. But without getting too, into too much of that, it was a good movie, so enjoyed it a lot. Go and see it. Let my people go.